Welcome back to another video on the Rugby channel. Please make sure you go ahead and leave a like, comment, subscribe, click the notification button, as well as please go ahead and follow us on our social media platforms to be up to date with the channel. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another rugby video. And yeah, massive announcement. Rugby Challenge 4 has officially been announced today. It's saying coming December 2019. We are going to talk about it a lot more in this video, obviously, and in the next couple of days I'm going to try and talk about it even more. But yeah, it's quite an interesting announcement because obviously we have Rugby 20 on the way out coming, was it end of January next year. And this has been announced for December this year. So this kind of puts the whole licensing whole situation into massive doubt for Rugby 20. Because obviously Rugby Challenge, if you didn't know, Rugby Challenge has always had the license for Super Rugby and the Southern Hemisphere stuff. So for example, they have all like we have Super Rugby, All Blacks, Australia, South Africa. I think Argentina were licensed in it as well. So with whole Rugby 20, when we were all asking like, because I know a lot of you guys wanted to know, would Super Rugby be licensed in Rugby 20? I highly doubt it now with this game being announced. The only way I think Rugby 20 would be able to get the licensing for Super Rugby now is if they lose, if Rugby Challenge 4 lose the contract for Super Rugby, obviously because it would be the end of the year. So Rugby Challenge would have the license for Super Rugby for 2019, and they'd have the 2019 kits, but they might not necessarily have the 2020 license, if that makes sense. That's the only way I can see it possible, being Rugby 20 having the licensing for Super Rugby. Otherwise, I highly doubt it. So for those of you rugby gamers who don't actually know what Rugby Challenge is, it's basically a rugby game which comes out, is it every 3 or 4 years in the Southern Hemisphere, and they usually have the license for the whole things which we just talked about. Usually the graphics is quite good. Here's an example of the graphics from Rugby Challenge 3. As you can see, it is quite detailed. It's a little bit up from obviously Rugby 20, although it's not like FIFA sort of quality. It never will be because these are small studios that do them. But yeah, Rugby Challenge games, I never actually played Rugby Challenge 2 or Rugby Challenge 3. I only ever played the first one, and the first one is pretty fun. They did have some downfalls of that, but we don't need to go into that because that was the first edition. So with this, then on their website, they've said that obviously there's going to be a career mode where you get to make your own player. There will be unlicensed versions of the teams as well. And obviously, if you don't know anything about Rugby Challenge, usually you do get to make your own players and edit what they look like. And you do usually get to make your own teams. And there's usually another cool feature which is called the fan hub, I think it's called, where you can import like official teams into it. So for example, the game most likely won't have Wales licensed, so you go on then to the fan hub, and somebody would probably make the official licensed Wales then, and then you can download it onto your game, and then you can play as them. So that's the whole point of the fan hub. So it is quite a cool addition. So yeah, I mean, whether or not Rugby Challenge 4 will be better than Rugby 20, I mean, in my personal opinion, it probably will be, because Rugby Challenge has got a good sort of positivity behind the previous titles. But yeah, it is a massive, very interesting announcement. So I will be going on to talk about what licensing would probably be on the game in a minute. One thing I am curious about now, though, obviously, because with Rugby 20 coming out next year, and with them we already know they have the license for the Pro 14, are they actually going to have South Africa licensed in the game? Usually, if you go through a licensing thing, the way it works is if you wanted a licensed team, so for example with the Pro 14, they might have to approach every single club individually, especially if they want their stadiums, which we know Rugby 20 won't be having. And if you have to go that way, usually you have to go through the board as well. So for example, if you wanted to get Scarlets licensed in the game, you would have to go to the WRU board to discuss that as well. So with the Cheetahs and the Kings being in the Pro 14, you would have to go to the South Africa Rugby board to speak about it. So it kind of makes you wonder then, will South Africa actually be in it? Because usually that's the way it works. So like the national team would say, oh yeah, we'll be part of it. Because we do know Rugby 20 has the English Premiership licensing, but they don't have the England national team licensing. So again, that kind of makes you wonder what happened there, and will England be licensed in this game? Like I said, I will discuss licensing in a minute. But yeah, it is, the whole situation is really weird. It's also quite annoying as a rugby fan because it would be nice to have every license in one game. Like, why can't they just work together and solve it together? Because it is really, really annoying when you have to, like, if you want to play Super Rugby or like have the All Blacks or whatever, you got to buy Rugby Challenge. Oh, and wait, 2 months later, if you want to play as Wales, you got to buy another bloody game, and it is really, really irritating. So yeah, the licensing then is this here. Okay, so go by all the previous Rugby Challenge titles, okay? It's very, very unlikely that any of these won't be in the game, okay? So the All Blacks has to most definitely be in the game because they always are in the Rugby Challenge games, same as Australia and South Africa. Okay, so it would be very, very odd not to see those teams in Rugby Challenge 4. Super Rugby, again, is usually always in Rugby Challenge games because they are a 7 hemisphere based thing, and the league usually want to go for them. England, we know, isn't in Rugby 20 because they haven't actually shown us anything yet. So it is almost very likely that England will be in Rugby Challenge 4. I have a feeling Sevens will probably most likely be back because it was a very popular mode in Rugby Challenge 3. And another thing I want to mention, because Rugby 20 hasn't been showing it at all, and earlier this year World Rugby announced there is a rugby game coming out, and it will have women's rugby in it. Now, Rugby 20 hasn't showcased any of this stuff yet, so I have a very, very strong feeling that women's rugby will be in Rugby Challenge 4. I mean, this is quite a cool feature because we've never had that before in any rugby game, and obviously with the women's game growing more and more in almost every sport, it is a very, very cool feature, and hopefully it will showcase women's rugby in the future. So another feature I want to show off for you guys, because I know some of you have never played Rugby Challenge before. These are the licensed stadiums Rugby Challenge 3 had. So obviously most of these will be coming back because obviously with the Super Rugby being licensed and the other Southern Hemisphere teams. But some of them might not be. I don't know now because obviously with Rugby 20 having the license for the English Premiership, we don't know if the English Premiership will be in this game. If not, these English Premiership stadiums obviously aren't going to be in the game. And there won't be any licensed stadiums in Rugby 20 as we know. So, I mean, that would be quite annoying, but obviously I have a feeling they're going to have other licensed stadiums as well. One question I do have to ask, because obviously I never had Rugby Challenge 2 or 3, so I know some of you guys do obviously play that, and you obviously probably are watching this video. Can you let me know in the comments, can you download stadiums on the Fan Hub of Rugby Challenge? Because again, I've never played on the Fan Hub or used it before. So can you download stadiums? I want to know that. Obviously I know about the whole team situation, so yeah, stadiums, can I download them if I was to buy this game? Let me know in the comment section. And yeah, overall, I think it's a very interesting situation having this game, like, literally come out of nowhere and say it's coming out in 4 months. I mean, I was quite surprised about that. But yeah, it is interesting because we're gonna, as it is now, we're going to have 2 rugby games coming out within the next 6 months. So how awesome is that? We never really get that often. Hopefully, the 2 of them are really good and they both have their own uniqueness to it. But we haven't seen anything from Rugby Challenge 4, so we don't know if any of this is 100% confirmed. But as I said, going by previous titles, it's almost very, very likely that that's going to happen. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I think that will probably be the end of today's video. So as always, please make sure you go ahead and leave a like to show your support for this video and the work that went into it. Comment as well, let me know what you think of Rugby Challenge 4. Do you reckon it's going to be any good? Let me know. As well, if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe. If you are interested in rugby gaming and other rugby videos, we upload rugby videos every single week, guaranteed. This week we've done like 5 so far, and there are more on the way, obviously. And we are covering Rugby 20 stuff as well, so please go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already, if you are a fan of all those things. Follow me on social media, especially my Twitter, if you're interested in rugby gaming stuff. I obviously put it up most on my Twitter channel. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, click the notification button to be notified when I upload, and follow me on social media. I've been Andrew. I will see you in another upload. Peace out, guys.